I stand in my doctoral regalia at Greensboro Coliseum, scanning the rows of filled seats until I find them. 6 empty chairs. Reserved for the Anderson family. Reserved for the people who should be here celebrating the culmination of 6 grueling years of pharmacy school. The weight of the moment presses against my chest. May 10th, 2 p.m. Doctor of Pharmacy degree. The finish line I've been crawling toward since I was 23. Lucille, over here. Clara waves frantically from the 3rd row, her entire family holding a bright yellow banner that reads, "Congratulations, Dr. Anderson," in bold red letters. They drove 4 hours from Virginia. 4 hours for my graduation. My best friend's parents beam at me with the kind of pride that should be radiating from my own mother and father. But Eleanor and Richard Anderson are nowhere to be found. The ceremony announcer's voice echoes through the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will now present the Doctor of Pharmacy candidates." My phone buzzes against my hip at 1:30 p.m. I shouldn't look. I should focus on this moment, on walking across that stage and receiving the diploma that represents everything I've worked for. But my hand moves to my pocket anyway. It's a group text from Beatrice, a selfie of my 33-year-old sister raising a mimosa, her face flushed with champagne and sunshine. Behind her, Griffin grins with his arm around our mother. Eleanor's perfectly styled hair catches the light as she laughs at something happening off camera. Richard holds a crystal tumbler, his banker's smile wide and satisfied. The backdrop makes my stomach drop. A massive banner stretches across Griffin's deck. Griffin's Big Spring Bash. The caption under the photo reads, "Party of the Year. Wish you were here, Lucy," followed by a sun emoji. My hands shake as I scroll up through our text chain. November 12th. The day I sent the graduation announcements with "Save the Date," printed in elegant script across the top. Eleanor's response. "Of course, darling. Wouldn't miss it for the world." Richard. "Proud of you, kiddo. Mark it on the calendar." Griffin. "Can't wait to celebrate Dr. Lucy." Beatrice. "Already planning my outfit. This is huge." I call my mother immediately. The phone rings 3 times before she picks up, her voice bright and breathless over the sound of clinking glasses and laughter. "Lucille, I can't talk. The state senator just arrived. I must go." The line goes dead. The ceremony announcer calls another name, then another. The alphabet is moving closer to Anderson, and I'm frozen in my seat, staring at my phone screen. Griffin's $1.8 million Lakehouse. The one Richard helped him buy last year when he made vice president at the bank. The same year, Richard told me he couldn't spare $200 for my organic chemistry textbooks because I needed to manage my budget better. The memory floods back with perfect, painful clarity. I was 19, standing in his home office with the syllabus in my hand, pointing to the required text list. His eyes never left his computer screen. $200 for books? Lucille, you have to learn fiscal responsibility. Maybe get a part-time job. 2 weeks later, Griffin walked into the driveway with a brand new convertible. A congratulations gift for landing a summer internship that paid more than my part-time pharmacy tech job. "He's been so stressed," Eleanor had explained when I stared at the car. "This internship is really demanding. He deserves something special." The pattern stretches back years. At 16, my state-level science fair victory earned me a distracted, "That's nice, dear," from Eleanor, while she planned Griffin's celebration dinner at the Palm for being named football captain. She called 3 restaurants to find the perfect table, insisted on their finest wine, invited Griffin's entire team. My trophy sat on the kitchen counter for a week before I moved it to my bedroom myself. "Anderson, Lucille." The announcer's voice cuts through my spiral. This is it, my moment. I stand on unsteady legs and walk toward the stage, each step echoing in the vast space. Clara's family erupts in cheers. Her father cups his hands around his mouth and shouts, "That's our girl." Her mother wipes away tears. Her little brother whistles so loudly it carries across the entire Coliseum. I climb the stairs to the platform. The Dean of Pharmacy smiles and extends my diploma with both hands. "Congratulations, Dr. Anderson. You've earned this." Dr. Anderson, the title I've dreamed about for years. But as I accept the diploma and turn toward the audience, my eyes land on those 6 empty seats again. Clara jumps up and down, her banner waving wildly. Her father has his arm around her mother's shoulders as they beam at me with genuine joy. This is what family support looks like. This is what I should have had. But instead, I have a text message photo of my family toasting my brother's pool party while I walk across the graduation stage alone. After the ceremony, I sit in my car in the parking lot, still wearing my cap and gown. Clara had insisted on photos, her family gathering around me like I was their own daughter. When her father put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Don't you worry, Dr. Anderson, we can cheer loud enough for 6 people," I almost broke down completely. Now, in the silence of my Honda Civic, I scroll through the graduation announcements. Most went to professors, colleagues, and friends, but there was one I'd held longer than the others. The envelope addressed to Grandma Vance. She'd been gone for 5 years, but I'd still written her address in careful script before remembering. Grandma Vance was the only family member who ever showed genuine interest in my achievements. "So how do those chain reactions of yours work, Lucille?" she'd asked when I was 12, leaning in conspiratorially after I'd won the middle school chemistry competition. "Tell me all about it." She listened to my rambling explanation about molecular bonds and electron transfers with the kind of focused attention I'd craved from everyone else. She asked follow-up questions. She remembered details weeks later and brought them up again. "My brilliant granddaughter," she'd called me, never comparing me to Griffin or Beatrice. Never minimizing my accomplishments to make room for someone else's. The name Vance carries weight in my chest. It represents something the Anderson name never has: genuine love and authentic support. I start the engine and pull out of the Greensboro Coliseum parking lot, my diploma lying flat in the passenger seat. 6 years of late nights, impossible exams, clinical rotations, and research papers. 6 years of proving myself over and over again, and they chose a pool party. As I drive toward Charlotte, toward the apartment I'll need to pack, and the life I'll need to leave behind, one thought crystallizes in my mind with startling clarity. I'm done being the invisible Anderson. It's time to figure out who Lucille really is when she stops performing for an audience that will never applaud. The drive back to Charlotte feels endless. Every mile marker reminds me that I'm heading toward the people who chose Griffin's pool party over my doctorate. My hands grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. But I need to understand. I need to know exactly how calculated this betrayal was. Back in my apartment, I spread the evidence across my kitchen table like a detective working a case. Text messages, email chains, calendar invitations. The graduation announcement I mailed in November with "Save the Date" printed in careful script. Then I find it. The smoking gun buried in my phone's message history, a message saying they will not attend my graduation ceremony. Eleanor's voice echoes in my memory as I read her exact words. "Lucille, you must understand. This isn't just a party. The state senator and partners from Wells Fargo will be there. This is a critical networking opportunity for Griffin's career. Your graduation, well, it's just a ceremony, isn't it? Just a ceremony. 6 years of my life reduced to just a ceremony, so Griffin could schmooze with politicians and bankers at his Lakehouse. The state senator who probably doesn't even remember Griffin's name. The Wells Fargo partners who see him as Richard Anderson's son, not as an individual with merit. I stare at that text message until the words blur. This wasn't a scheduling conflict or a miscommunication. This was a deliberate choice. Eleanor weighed my doctoral graduation against Griffin's networking opportunity and decided mine was expendable. The rage builds slowly, then all at once. I throw my phone across the room and it hits the wall with a satisfying crack. 2 days later, I walk into the Mecklenburg County Courthouse with a manila folder containing forms I printed at 3 a.m. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead as I wait in line behind a teenager getting married and an elderly man updating his will. When my number is called, I approach the bench where Judge Harrison sits. He's older, probably Richard's age, with silver hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. He looks at my petition and raises his eyebrows. "Anderson? That's a powerful name in Charlotte, young lady." He studies me over his glasses. "You're sure about this? Changing your name is a serious matter." I stand straighter, my voice clear and steady. "I am positive, Your Honor. My grandmother was a Vance. I want to honor her." Judge Harrison examines the paperwork more carefully, then looks at me again. Something in my expression must convince him because he nods slowly. "So ordered." "Good luck, Miss Vance." I walk out of that courthouse feeling like I've shed a skin that never fit properly. The name Anderson suddenly feels foreign, like a costume I wore for 29 years without realizing it didn't belong to me. Lucille Vance. The name tastes different in my mouth. It tastes like freedom. The packing takes 3 days. I'm ruthless about what comes with me and what stays behind. Family photos go in the trash. The Christmas ornament Eleanor gave me with the Anderson family painted in gold script gets buried under coffee grounds. Griffin's college graduation photo, the one where everyone's beaming like he'd just won the Nobel Prize instead of barely passing business school, goes straight into the dumpster. But Grandma Vance's recipe box comes with me. So does the science trophy from high school that nobody else ever noticed. My pharmacy textbooks, worn and highlighted, stack neatly in moving boxes. These are the pieces of myself that matter. I don't tell anyone I'm leaving. Not Eleanor, not Richard, not even Beatrice, who's probably still nursing a hangover from Griffin's party of the year. They'll figure it out when my apartment sits empty and my phone number goes straight to voicemail. The Honda Civic is packed to the ceiling when I start the engine at sunrise. Boston is 847 miles northeast. A new life, a new name, a clean slate. I don't just move to Boston. I flee. The first 300 miles? I cry. Ugly, gasping sobs that I've been holding back for weeks. I pull over twice at rest stops to collect myself, but the tears keep coming. I'm grieving something I never actually had. A family that would celebrate my achievements instead of treating them as inconveniences. Somewhere outside Richmond, Virginia, I pull into a gas station and sit in the parking lot staring at my phone. The lock screen still shows the family photo from last Christmas. All of us around Eleanor's perfect tree, wearing coordinated sweaters she'd bought for everyone. Griffin's arm around my shoulders, his smile wide and genuine. He probably doesn't even know I changed my name. He probably doesn't know I'm driving away from everything we shared. I delete the photo with a decisive swipe. The default landscape wallpaper feels like breathing again. As I cross into Pennsylvania, the Charlotte pop radio station I've been listening to starts cutting out. Static replaces the familiar voices I've heard every morning for years. Instead of finding another music station, I plug in my phone and scroll to a dense pharmacology podcast about drug interactions in elderly patients. The narrator's voice is calm, scientific, methodical. She discusses half-lives and metabolism rates with the same precision I plan to use rebuilding my life. No drama, no emotional manipulation, just facts and evidence and logical conclusions. By the time I hit the Connecticut state line, the tears are gone. My jaw is set, my hands steady on the wheel. The rearview mirror shows everything I'm leaving behind, but I don't look back. The sign for Boston appears as the sun sets behind me. Welcome to Boston. Population 685,000. Home to world-class hospitals, prestigious universities, and people who've never heard the name Anderson carry any weight at all. I merge onto the highway toward Mass General Hospital, toward my new apartment, toward a life where my achievements matter more than my brother's networking events. In the distance, the city lights sparkle like promises. Lucille Vance is driving toward her future, and she's not looking back. The night after my drive, I sit in my empty Boston apartment, listening to rain hammer against windows I've never seen in daylight. The sound echoes off bare walls, amplifying the silence that surrounds me like a physical weight. Everything I own fits in 6 cardboard boxes stacked against the far wall. My diploma leans against one of them, still in its ceremonial folder. Dr. Lucille Anderson printed in elegant script across expensive paper. Soon it will read, Dr. Lucille Vance, but tonight it feels like evidence of a life I'm not sure I have the courage to abandon completely. The loneliness presses against my chest until breathing becomes a conscious effort. Did I do the right thing? The question circles through my mind like water down a drain, pulling every rational thought into its vortex. Am I completely insane? I reach for my old phone. The one with all the Anderson contacts saved under family labels. Mom, Dad, Griffin, B. My thumb hovers over Eleanor's name, trembling with the weight of a single decision that could end this terrible isolation. One call. One tearful apology. Mine, not theirs. I'm sorry I overreacted. I understand Griffin's career is important. Please forgive me for being so selfish. The words taste bitter in my imagination, but they would work. Eleanor would accept my surrender with gracious magnanimity. Richard would offer to help with my moving expenses back to Charlotte. Within a week, I could be Dr. Anderson again, sliding back into my familiar role as the family's invisible achiever. My thumb moves closer to the call button. The apartment feels cavernous around me, Like I'm the last person left in the world. No Clara driving 4 hours to cheer me on. No colleagues who know my research. No professors who remember my potential. Just me, and this crushing weight of absolute solitude. The trembling in my hand spreads up my arm. I'm about to press Eleanor's name, when my new phone lights up on the coffee table. The screen glows bright blue in the dark room, and I nearly drop the old phone in surprise. It's an email from Mass General Hospital. Welcome to our pharmacy team, Dr. Vance. Your orientation begins Monday, at 8 a.m. Please report to Human Resources on the 3rd floor of the main building. We look forward to working with you. Sincerely, Dr. Patricia Morgan, Chief of Pharmacy. I stare at the message, reading it 3 times before the words sink in completely. Dr. Vance. Not Anderson. Vance. It's real. This new life isn't a fantasy I've constructed during a temporary breakdown. Mass General Hospital expects Dr. Lucille Vance to show up Monday morning, ready to begin her career as a clinical pharmacist. They've printed badges with my chosen name, assigned me to cases, trust me to review medication interactions that could save lives or cause catastrophic harm. I take a shuddering breath that seems to fill my lungs for the first time since arriving in Boston. The email represents more than a job. It's proof that I can exist outside the Anderson family ecosystem. That my pharmaceutical knowledge and clinical training have value independent of Eleanor's approval or Richard's financial support. I power down the old phone without making the call. Walk to the kitchen and drop it into a cardboard box I've marked for the dumpster. The small weight of it hitting the bottom makes a hollow thud that sounds like finality. Back at my laptop, I begin typing a response to Dr. Morgan. Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to contributing to the pharmacy team and serving Mass General's patients. I will report Monday morning as requested. Sincerely, Dr. Lucille Vance. I read the signature line twice before hitting send. Dr. Lucille Vance. The name feels strange and powerful, like trying on clothes that fit perfectly but look nothing like what I've worn before. My next email goes to the university's registrar's office. I attach the court order from Mecklenburg County, the official document that legally transformed me from Anderson to Vance. The form letter I type is businesslike and brief. Please update my academic records to reflect my legal name change. I am requesting that my diploma be reprinted with my current legal name, Lucille Vance. Attached is the certified court order documenting this change. Thank you for your assistance. Within an hour, I receive a confirmation. Your request has been processed. Your updated diploma will be available for pickup or mailing within 2 weeks. Congratulations on your degree, Dr. Vance. Dr. Vance. Even from a stranger in a registrar's office, the name carries weight I never felt as an Anderson. It doesn't come with decades of family history defining my worth through comparison to Griffin's achievements. There are no expectations attached to the Vance name except the ones I create through my own actions. The rain against the windows begins to sound less like isolation and more like protection. The empty apartment doesn't feel cavernous anymore. It feels clean. Uncluttered by decades of family drama and emotional manipulation, I walk to my boxes and pull out a framed photo I'd packed at the last minute. Grandma Vance and me at my high school graduation, her arm around my shoulders as she beams with genuine pride. She's wearing her best dress and the pearl earrings she saved for special occasions. Her face radiates the kind of authentic joy Eleanor has never shown for any of my accomplishments. Tell me about those chemistry courses you're planning to take, she'd said after the graduation ceremony. I want to understand what my brilliant granddaughter is going to study. Not brilliant compared to anyone else. Just brilliant. Period. I place the photo on the windowsill where I can see it from my kitchen table. Tomorrow I'll buy groceries and start learning my new neighborhood. Monday I'll report to Mass General as Dr. Vance and begin building a career based on my clinical knowledge rather than family connections. The legal name change is complete. All Anderson phone numbers are blocked. Email filters automatically delete anything sent from Charlotte addresses. I am, for the first time in my life, utterly and completely alone, but alone feels different than I expected. The Anderson family's absence isn't a wound anymore. It's an amputation that removed something diseased, leaving healthy tissue to heal properly. The victory of self-protection is real and substantial, but it comes paired with the sharp grief of understanding that some relationships can't be salvaged, only escaped. Outside my window, Boston continues its life without me. 8 million strangers who don't know I'm Richard Anderson's invisible daughter, or Griffin Anderson's overlooked sister. They only know what I show them through my work, my choices, my character. For the first time, that feels like more than enough. 6 months after I vanished from Charlotte, Richard sits in his mahogany-paneled office on the 32nd floor of First Union Plaza, staring at a manila folder like it contains evidence of his own failure. The private investigator, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and the kind of patience that comes from tracking down cheating spouses for 20 years, slides the folder across Richard's desk with practiced indifference. "She's not missing, Mr. Anderson." Richard's hands remain flat on his desk blotter, unwilling to touch the folder. The missing person report had been his idea, filed 3 months ago when Eleanor's calls to my old number went straight to a disconnected message. They'd convinced themselves something terrible had happened. Kidnapping. Accident. Anything except the truth. "She's in Boston," the investigator continues, his voice matter of fact. "Works at Mass General Hospital. She's Dr. Lucille Vance now." The words hit Richard like a physical blow. His face drains of color as he finally opens the folder with trembling fingers. Inside, copies of my Massachusetts medical license, my Mass General employment records, my new address on Beacon Hill, and my legal name change documentation. Vance. Richard's voice comes out strangled. She took her grandmother's name. The issue isn't my safety. The missing person charade was never about concern for my well-being. It's about the audacity of my escape, the public erasure of his precious Anderson legacy from my professional identity. "Your daughter is thriving, sir. Excellent employment record. Clean credit. No criminal activity." The investigator retrieves his folder. Just a young woman who wanted a fresh start. After the man leaves, Richard sits alone in his office, staring out at the Charlotte skyline. The Anderson name built this city's financial district, 4 generations of banking excellence. And his youngest daughter threw it away like garbage. Meanwhile, miles north, I'm discovering exactly how immune I've become to their desperate attempts at control. Griffin's message comes through LinkedIn on a Tuesday evening while I'm reviewing patient charts in the Mass General Pharmacy. The notification pops up on my computer screen. Message from Griffin Anderson. A year ago, seeing his name would have sent my heart rate spiking, my stomach clenching with that familiar cocktail of hope and dread. Now I read it with the clinical detachment I reserve for pharmaceutical interaction warnings. "Mom is devastated that you changed your name. This is so selfish. You're hurting the entire family with this childish tantrum. Dad had to hire a private investigator because we thought you were dead. How could you do this to us?" I read the message twice. Then I click block and return to my patient charts without so much as a spike in my heart rate. The words that would have destroyed me a year ago bounce off me like rain on concrete. For the first time in my life, I am completely immune to Anderson family manipulation. My first year of residency at Mass General is brutal in every way except the one that matters most. No family drama sucking the life out of every achievement. When I drag myself home after 14-hour shifts, my exhaustion is clean, pure, the result of meaningful work instead of emotional warfare. That's how I'm functioning when the complex case comes in on a Thursday morning in March. Mrs. Patterson, 67, post-liver transplant patient presenting with multi-organ failure. Her kidneys are shutting down, her blood pressure is unstable, and her latest labs look like a medical school nightmare. The attending physicians are stumped. Dr. Reyes, the head of transplant medicine, stands at Mrs. Patterson's bedside with 3 residents and an infectious disease specialist, all of them wearing identical expressions of controlled panic. "We've run every test twice, doctor," Reyes says, flipping through the chart. "Rejection markers are negative. Infection panels are clean. But she's failing across multiple systems simultaneously. I'm supposed to be reviewing her medication reconciliation, a routine task for the pharmacy resident, but something about her drug list nags at me like a word I can't remember. I stay up all night in the medical library, cross-referencing every medication, every supplement, every possible interaction. At 4 a.m, I find it buried in a case study from a Swedish medical journal, a rare, 1 in a million adverse reaction between her immunosuppressant and a seemingly innocuous blood pressure medication. The combination creates a cascade failure that mimics rejection while actually being completely reversible. I arrive at morning rounds terrified but certain, clutching my printouts like evidence at a trial. When Dr. Reyes calls for pharmacy input. My voice shakes as I present my findings. I believe we're looking at a previously unreported interaction between tacrolimus and her ACE inhibitor. The pathway involves cytochrome P450 enzyme induction that creates a feedback loop affecting multiple organ systems. The silence stretches for 15 seconds. Dr. Reyes, a notoriously difficult woman who once made a resident cry during rounds, stares at me with an expression I can't read. Show me the literature. I hand her my research, pages of highlighted text and chemical pathway diagrams that I've memorized completely. She reads in silence, while the entire medical team waits. Finally, she looks up. Good work, Dr. Vance. You just saved a life. That quiet, good work, reverberates through my chest, with more power than any standing ovation the Andersons ever gave Griffin. This praise is earned, specific, and real. It comes from someone who respects my competence, not someone trying to manipulate my emotions. Mrs. Patterson recovers completely after we adjust her medications. 3 weeks later, she sends a thank you card addressed to Dr. Vance and the angels at Mass General. I keep it taped to my computer monitor. I meet Ben at the most unlikely place imaginable, a medical ethics symposium that's about as exciting as watching paint dry in a library. But the topic is data modeling in pharmaceutical research, and when he presents his findings on algorithmic bias in clinical trials, I can't help myself. During the Q&A, I raise my hand. Your methodology assumes random distribution of confounding variables, but that's exactly the bias you're trying to identify. You're measuring the problem with the same flawed tools that created it. The room goes silent. Ben looks at me for a long moment, then grins. You're absolutely right. The circular logic is embarrassing obvious now that you've pointed it out. He doesn't try to defend his work or minimize my critique. He just listens. After the session, he finds me at the coffee station. You were right about the data bias, he says, handing me a cup. I'm Ben. Can I buy you dinner so you can tell me what else I'm wrong about? His respect for my intellect hits me like a revelation. Griffin used to argue with me to win. Richard dismissed my opinions before I finished speaking. Ben wants to hear more. I'm Lucille, I say, accepting his coffee. And yes, you can buy me dinner, but fair warning, I have opinions about everything. Perfect, he says. So do I. This should be interesting. 6 months later, Ben watches me pace around my apartment, muttering pharmaceutical terminology while preparing for a major presentation to the hospital board about a new pharmacy protocol I've designed. I'm stressed, scattered, completely in my own head. He doesn't tell me to calm down or offer empty reassurances. Instead, he quietly brings me coffee and a sandwich I forgot to eat. He smiles and nods as a sign that he is always here, silently watching me all the time, so I don't have to be afraid. I stop pacing and look at him. The memory of 16-year-old me, alone with my science fair trophy, flashes through my mind with painful clarity. This quiet, steadfast support is the validation I've been seeking my entire life. It's not about flashy celebrations or networking opportunities. It's about someone making space for me to succeed. That night, as I present my research to a room full of department heads and hospital administrators, I feel something I've never experienced before. Complete confidence in my own worth, independent of anyone else's approval. The foundation is solid now. Everything I build from here will be mine. 4 years have passed since I fled Charlotte with nothing but my diploma and a fierce determination to build something real. The woman who stood alone at graduation feels like someone I used to know, someone whose desperate need for approval once dictated every decision. I'm adjusting my white coat in the mirror of my new office at Mass General Hospital, lead clinical pharmacist. The nameplate on my door reads, Dr. Lucille Vance, Pharm D, in crisp black lettering. No Anderson in sight. Clara bursts through the door without knocking, her arms full of congratulatory flowers from colleagues back in Virginia. Look at you, hotshot! Your own office with actual windows that don't face a brick wall. The view of the parking garage is quite inspiring. I laugh, accepting the bouquet she thrusts into my hands. I can see people coming and going, very metaphorical. She plops into the visitor's chair across from my desk, the same chair where pharmaceutical sales representatives will soon sit, seeking my approval for their latest compounds. The irony isn't lost on me. People now seek my validation, my professional opinion, my signature on formulary recommendations. Tell me everything about the promotion ceremony, Clara demands. And don't you dare downplay it. I want details. The memory of yesterday's announcement still feels surreal. Dr. Patricia Chen, the chief of pharmacy, called me into her office with that expression she wears when discussing medication errors. My stomach dropped, wondering what mistake I'd made, what protocol I'd missed. Lucille, sit down. She gestured to the chair across from her mahogany desk, the same spot where she'd interviewed me 4 years ago when I was just another desperate graduate seeking validation through professional achievement. I'll cut to the chase. The board approved your promotion to lead clinical pharmacist. Congratulations. The moment had passed in slow motion. 4 years of proving myself, of staying late to review complex cases, of presenting research findings to skeptical attending physicians, of earning respect one clinical decision at a time. All of it culminating in those simple words, congratulations. I still can't believe it, I tell Clara now, sinking into my new desk chair. The leather is real, not the fake vinyl from my previous cubicle. Dr. Chen said my work on the post-transplant protocol alone justified the promotion. Clara grins. Remember that case you told me about? The one where you figured out the medication interaction everyone else missed? The memory floods back. Mrs. Patterson. A huge case where I'd spent sleepless nights cross-referencing obscure drug interactions, diving deep into pharmaceutical literature that most clinicians never touch. That's what real achievement feels like, I tell Clara. Saving lives, not collecting trophies to impress people who couldn't care less. My phone buzzes with a text from Ben, who's currently presenting his latest biotech research at a conference in San Francisco. Proud of you, lead pharmacist Vance. Can't wait to celebrate properly when I get home tomorrow. Dinner reservations at that place you love. The simplicity of his support still catches me off guard sometimes. No competition, no conditions, no need to diminish my success to make room for his ego, just genuine pride in my accomplishments. Clara notices my smile. Ben? He made dinner reservations to celebrate. At Benedetto, that little Italian place in the North End. The one with the terrible parking and amazing tiramisu? That's the one. I set my phone down, but the warmth of Ben's message lingers. You know what's strange? I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For someone to say this promotion was a mistake, or that I don't deserve it. Clara's expression grows serious. That's the Anderson programming talking. You've spent your whole life believing you had to earn love through achievement, but even perfect performance was never enough for them. She's right, of course. The invisible achiever syndrome ran so deep I'd carried it to Boston, into my professional relationships, into the way I approached every challenge as a test of my worthiness. But something shifted over these 4 years. The colleagues who became my chosen family celebrated my clinical victories without comparing them to anyone else's accomplishments. My research publications earned recognition based solely on their merit. My patient care awards accumulated not because I was competing for approval, but because I was genuinely good at my job. I published 3 research papers this year. I say, more to myself than to Clara. Presented at 2 national conferences. Led the implementation of a new pharmacy protocol that reduced medication errors by 18%. And nobody minimized those achievements. Nobody suggested I was showing off or getting too big for my britches. Nobody threw a pool party on the same day to steal attention from my success. Clara reaches across the desk and squeezes my hand. Welcome to what normal family support feels like. This is how people who love you properly react to your wins. Through my office window, I watch a young resident hurry across the parking garage, white coat flapping behind him, probably rushing to save someone's life. 4 years ago, that was me, desperate to prove my competence to anyone who would listen. Now I'm the one people come to for answers. The lead clinical pharmacist, whose recommendations carry weight, whose expertise is sought and valued, the invisible achiever became highly visible to everyone who matters. My computer chimes with an email notification. The sender's name makes my breath catch. Eleanor Anderson. Clara notices my face change. What is it? I stare at the subject line. Your wedding announcement. Below it, my email filter has automatically sorted the message into a folder labeled Blocked Senders, Auto-Delete. The irony is perfect. Eleanor discovered my engagement through mutual acquaintances on social media, saw photos of the venue Ben and I toured last weekend, probably caught wind of the bridal shower my colleagues are planning for next month. I can picture her panic as clearly as if I were standing in her Charlotte living room. The desperate realization that her daughter is getting married and she wasn't consulted, wasn't included, wasn't even informed. My mother tried to email me about the wedding. I tell Clara, clicking on the folder to see the blocked message list. It went straight to my filters. Clara's eyebrows shoot up. Are you going to read it? I hover the cursor over the email for a moment, then close the folder without opening it. No. Whatever manipulation, whatever guilt trip, whatever demand for inclusion she's typed up, it doesn't have an address anymore. The email will be automatically deleted in 30 days, unread and unanswered. Eleanor's panic and drama, her desperate attempt to insert herself into my life, will disappear into the digital void without ever reaching me. This is the true victory. Not just that I built a successful career despite their neglect, but that their opinions no longer have the power to wound me. Their panic about being excluded from my wedding day carries no weight because I've finally learned what authentic support looks like. Ben's text, Doctor. Chen's professional respect, Clara's unwavering loyalty, my colleagues' genuine celebration of my achievements. This is what family feels like when it's chosen, rather than assigned. I delete the email notification and turn back to Clara, who's watching me with something like wonder. 4 years ago. That would have destroyed you, she says quietly. 4 years ago, I was still performing for their approval. I lean back in my real leather chair, looking out at the parking garage where people come and go without needing anyone's permission. Now I'm living for my own. A year later, I got another promotion and became Dr. Lucille Vance, lead clinical pharmacist, in bold, confident letters. The promotion came through last month, lead clinical pharmacist. The youngest person ever to hold this position at Mass General. My research on post-transplant medication protocols has been published in 3 major journals. Speaking engagements pile up on my desk faster than I can accept them. But none of that compares to the quiet satisfaction I feel when I look at my left hand. The simple platinum band catches the fluorescent light as I review patient charts. Ben proposed a year ago in the most perfectly understated way possible, during a medical ethics symposium coffee break. Of all places, Dr. Vance. He'd said, sliding into the seat next to me with 2 cups of terrible conference coffee. I have a hypothesis I'd like you to help me test. Oh, really? I'd raised an eyebrow at his serious expression. And what hypothesis would that be, Dr. Martinez? That we'd make an excellent research partnership, long-term, say, 50 or 60 years of collaborative work? He'd pulled out a ring box with the same methodical precision he used in his lab. What do you think? Would you be interested in co-authoring the rest of our lives? I'd laughed so hard I nearly spilled coffee on my presentation notes. Ben Martinez, did you just propose to me using the scientific method? Peer review encouraged, he'd grinned, opening the box to reveal a stunning but practical solitaire. So, will you accept my research proposal? The memory still makes me smile as I finish my afternoon rounds. Ben understood something the Anderson family never grasped. Love isn't about grand gestures or flashy displays. It's about showing up consistently, making space for each other's success, and choosing partnership over competition. My phone buzzes with a text from him now. Grocery run complete. Dinner prep started. You focus on changing the world. I'll handle the logistics. See you at 7. The exact words he'd used in his wedding vows 3 weeks ago. Our wedding was everything the Anderson family's events were not. Small, intimate, and filled with people who had earned their place through years of genuine support. Clara flew in from Virginia, tears streaming down her face as she watched me walk down the aisle. My university professor, the one who had guided my doctoral studies, beamed as he walked me down the aisle. You did good, Dr. Vance, he'd whispered, just before we reached the altar. Your grandmother would be proud. Ben's vows had been perfect. No flowery promises about perfection or fairy tale endings, just honest commitment. I don't promise to make your life perfect, he'd said, looking directly into my eyes. But I promise to be your partner, to champion your successes, and to always handle the logistics while you're saving the world. The Andersons were not just uninvited, they were unmissed. I lock my office and head home to the brownstone apartment Ben and I share in Back Bay. The evening light filters through the tall windows as I climb the stairs, and the smell of something delicious drifts from our kitchen. How did the board meeting go? Ben calls from the stove, not turning around as he stirs something that smells like heaven. They approved the protocol. I drop my bag by the door and lean against the kitchen counter. Full implementation across all units starting next month. Of course they did. He turns and grins at me. It's groundbreaking work, Dr. Vance. They'd be idiots not to approve it. This is what the Anderson family never understood. Success shared becomes success doubled. Ben's pride in my achievements doesn't diminish him. It elevates both of us. The next morning arrives gray and rainy. I'm stressed, pacing our living room while reviewing my notes for the major presentation I'm giving to the hospital board about expanding the new pharmacy protocol system-wide. My stomach churns as I mutter key points under my breath, reorganizing slides on my laptop for the third time. Interaction rates decreased by 37%. I recite to the empty room. Cost savings projected at $2.4 million annually. I stop and shake my head. No, that's not the right opening. Should I start with patient outcomes or financial impact? Ben appears in the doorway, watching me pace. He doesn't say, "Calm down," or "You'll be fine," or any of the meaningless platitudes I've heard before. Instead, he quietly disappears into the kitchen. 5 minutes later, he returns with a steaming mug of coffee, prepared exactly how I like it, and a plate of toast with the almond butter I forgot to eat for breakfast. "You're gonna be brilliant," he says simply, setting both on the coffee table. The protocol is groundbreaking. The board knows it. I stop pacing and look at him. Really look at him. Standing there in his rumpled morning shirt, hair sticking up from sleep, offering practical support without fanfare or expectation of gratitude. A memory flashes through my mind with startling clarity. 16-year-old me, standing alone in our Charlotte kitchen with my state science fair trophy. Eleanor's distracted, "That's nice, dear," before rushing off to plan Griffin's celebration dinner, the trophy sitting on the counter for a week before I moved it to my bedroom myself. This moment with Ben is the exact opposite of that memory. This is what I've been searching for my entire life without knowing it. Not applause or elaborate praise, but someone making quiet space for me to succeed. "Thank you," I say, and my voice comes out steadier than it has all morning. This is exactly what I needed. "I know," he says, kissing my forehead. "That's what partners do." The presentation goes flawlessly. The board approves expansion of the protocol to all departments. My research will impact patient care across one of the country's most prestigious hospitals. But the victory I carry home that evening isn't about professional recognition. It's about coming home to someone who celebrated my success by doing the dishes and walking our dog. Later that night, I sit at my desk working on the research paper that will accompany the protocol implementation. Ben has settled into his chair across the room with a book about biotech innovations, occasionally reading aloud interesting passages that might connect to my work. The house is quiet except for the soft turning of pages and the gentle clicking of my keyboard. There's no anxiety about approval, no fear of criticism, no desperate need to prove my worth to anyone. Just peace. I pause in my writing and look around our living room. Books stacked on every surface, 2 coffee mugs on the table, Ben's reading glasses sliding down his nose as he concentrates. This is what happiness looks like. Not flashy or dramatic, just steady and real. My phone sits silent on the desk. The email filters I installed years ago continue their invisible work, ensuring that any attempts at contact from Charlotte disappear before they can reach me. I haven't thought about the Anderson family in months. They've become irrelevant to my daily existence. Sometimes I wonder if Eleanor still tells people she has a daughter who's a doctor. If Richard mentions my achievements to his banking colleagues when the conversation turns to successful children. If Griffin or Beatrice ever think about the sister who simply vanished from their social media feeds and holiday gatherings. But the wondering doesn't hurt anymore. It's just idle curiosity about people who once mattered but no longer do. I return to my research, adding another paragraph to the conclusions section. Outside, Boston settles into its evening rhythm. Ben turns another page of his book. Our life continues in its quiet, purposeful way. I finally understand what Grandma Vance tried to teach me all those years ago when she leaned in close and asked about my chemistry experiments. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when everything matters. And the people who show up, they're sitting right here in this room.